Time to bust out that tape measure so you don't screw up and buy the wrong garage door. First thing you're going to do is measure the width of the door opening. Just make sure this accounts for any trim if you're still at the rough framing stage. Next, you're going to measure the height of the opening. Again, take into account any trim if you're still at the rough framing. Stepping inside the garage, you're going to need to know your headroom, your side room, and your back room. The headroom is the space above the top of the door. Typically it's the ceiling unless you've got something like some storage racks above the door. Typically 12 inches, but verify for your plans. The side room is the space to the left or the right of the door opening that you need to attach the tracks, brackets, etc. Minimum is typically about 4 inches, but ideally you're going to want around 8 to 12 inches to make installation with power tools a bit easier. The final measurement is the back room. This is going to be the minimum depth from the opening of the garage door going into the garage so that you can fit your door, your tracks, and your opener. A rough ballpark is going to be your door height plus 18 inches. For a standard 7-foot door, that's going to be about 8.5 feet. Again, verify for your install. Given how expensive the garage doors are, I imagine returns are going to be terrible. Measure many, many times. Make sure you've got everything correct. And I probably did this half a dozen times to make sure. And even then I was still paranoid until they actually got here and everything fit when I was done with the installation. I got my doors from wholesaleGarageDoors.com. Nothing special per se. They just had the specs that I needed, particularly the side mount openers and the 20-inch radius track. More on that later. The gent you see helping me is Sean O'Hara from Above and Beyond Garage Doors. He delivered my order, gave me a lot of pointers, and then he also helped remotely troubleshoot an issue you'll see later on in this video. If you're looking for a new garage door in the Houston or DFW area, give him a call at 832-403-6839. Before getting to any of the door hardware, I need to remove some drywall so that I can install the H-frame or goalposts so that the hardware for the door has something really secure to attach to. This is all the 2x6 lumber that I need to frame out for the H-frame, I guess is what it's called, for the garage door to mount all the hardware onto. It's not what was there before, but it's what the installation specs call for. Got a mix of pressure treated and regular 2x6x10s. So the pressure treated 2x6s for the vertical parts, because those will be coming into contact with the concrete of the foundation, and then the non-pressure treated stuff, it's for a horizontal piece that goes across the top, and then another vertical piece that's right in the midline that the anchor for the spring, torsion spring attaches to, because those aren't in contact with the ground. Then I've also got a big honkin' 2x8 piece of pressure treated to replace some of the framing on the exterior of the garage because that's rotting away pretty badly. So now I'm measuring the height that I need for the 2x6s that will be the framing for the garage door track hardware to mount to. I've got my first 2x6s ready to install on the vertical jambs here for my smaller door. And looking at the specs from the manufacturer, I need to do 5/16 inch by 3 inch lag screws. So those will start 6 inches from the bottom and top, and then 24 inches on center. Okay, so we are going to reposition this electrical box just over a little bit. So I will power everything down at the breaker, take the wires out of the box, sister in a 2x4, just a small piece right here, and then the box will be shifted over a little bit, and then that should give enough clearance so that when I install 2x6 here, the edge of the box is now here instead of right here. Let's see if this works. So got the 2x6 installed for the garage door, but now you can see there's no stud right here for the drywall to attach to. So I'm going to be taking this piece of 1x4 material and just sistering it to the back side of the 2x6 here, so that I've then got a surface here and here to mount the drywall screws into. Next, you'll need to install the horizontal piece of the framing, as well as the small vertical piece in the middle for the torsion spring mount. Make sure to follow the manufacturer's specifications for your screw locations. Stop. Before you do anything else, lay out and organize all of your hardware. You can check to make sure you've got everything that you need, and it's going to make finding things a lot easier when you're on day 5 of this project. So to start off, I'm going to lay the door tracks down on the floor, just get them aligned correctly. And there's the second segment of track. So to connect the top track and the side track together, we're using these little bolts that have the flush head so that when it's sitting inside the track, it's not getting in the way of the door's rollers from hitting it. I am very excited for when all of this is done, so I don't constantly have to play Tetris with my garage to fit stuff. My next step is to mark the heights when we're attaching that vertical track to the wall. Manufacturer's specs have information on that, so I'm just going to go and mark those out now. So I'm going to attach the first of these brackets that will connect the vertical track to the jam on the wall. Just loose connection, let's go up and down, back and forth. I'm ready for my first pilot hole. Fingers crossed. I've got 2 lag bolts in. I'm just going to snug them up a bit to make sure I'm at vertical. There we go. Now to get some of these top brackets up. I figured out that I gotta loosen up this bolt. Give myself play here. Like this needs to come out, but it can't come out anymore because those brackets are maxed out. Because I'm working by myself, I used a drywall lift to hold the horizontal track in place. I'm just lowering it now so I can take the tension off of it, which lets me adjust the connection between the vertical and horizontal track so that I've got a smooth transition. That's a nice smooth transition. Okay, I can tighten this back down. And I can get this bolt in. That was a little tricky. I've got all the wall anchors in place now. Top of the track looks level vertically. Bottom of the track here looks level vertically. Whew. That one back there took a while to install. Let's see if I can use my magic so that the second one goes a little bit faster. And it's done. We're starting with the bottom panel. Before putting it in place, I'm just attaching the bottom bracket and the first piece of wind bracing. My bottom panel already had the weather stripping installed. Yours may be a little bit different. The next step is to install the hinge to connect the next panel up. It's going to be labeled number 1. There's also going to be a number 2, number 3 hinges, but more on that later. For my door, the hinges in the middle were all a number 1. The number 2 and 3 hinges were for the side connections on higher up panels. Just go in order, 1, 2, 3. This part's really important because each hinge has a specific shape to properly follow the curve of the track as the door opens. When you're installing the rollers, put them into the hinges first, then thread the roller wheels into your vertical track, and then bolt the hinge onto the door. Time for the last panel. I'm attaching everything with the provided self-tapping screws and an impact drill. Just be gentle to avoid stripping things. These are the top plates, top brackets. All right, those slide now. Like this at the bottom. So yeah, this top roller bracket is upside down. That roller pin is supposed to be on the top side of the bracket. I fixed that later. One of many mistakes. So don't do what I did. The bolts on top of this bracket adjust the top panel position when you're fine-tuning the seal with the weather stripping later on. It's been about a year and a half since I boarded this up. Definitely took the old garage door off too soon, but it's finally coming down. Oh, right here. Oh, there we go. Current me really regrets past me's choice to use Phillips head screws for this. Torx is so much better. Next, I'm putting this disc onto this side of the torsion bar. I think that just centers this side of the spring on the rod there. Next, I'm putting these cable drums onto the end of the bar with the red screws facing in. My next step is to break this apart into the two separate end bearing plates. So that's a right, and that's a left. Making sure to pay attention to the left and right orientation. I then attached the end bearing plate to the flag bracket with the provided bolts. Next step is to get the torsion bar in place and lightly tighten the red square-headed bolts on the cable drum. If everything looks good, go ahead and get those lag screws attached to the H-frame. When you attach the center bearing support bracket to your H-frame, make sure it's plumb vertically. You can also see I've got a level attached here horizontally on the torsion bar. That's to make sure that I've got my support bracket up high enough to take the sag out of the middle of the bar. Just double check that. I'm finally ready to attach the horizontal tracks to the ceiling. My first step is to attach this bracket, these nuts and bolts to here. And then the instructions say to make sure that the bolt is sticking into the track here so that it stops the wheel. So I was struggling to figure out how to keep this track the same distance from the wall back there as it is here. And I was gonna do some crazy thing with my laser and get a straight line. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm making this too complicated. I'm just gonna hold it open with a piece of wood. Those are the wrong size. That's better. There we go. So just hanging, this is 8'3½". Coming up here, we're at 8'3 7/16". Pretty good. So I've got my tracks mounted in place and back there. There we go. Now it's time to start putting some tension to that spring, see if I can get the door to move up and down slowly before I move on to installing the opener up there. You can also attach the cable before installing the bottom panel. It'll give you a lot better access. As you can see, it's a bit tricky. Hook the end of the cable into the slot in the drum, and then carefully start winding it so it lays down smoothly in the grooves. Make sure you've got about 1/8 of an inch gap between the drum and the end bearing plate so they don't rub. All right, I am ready to start winding the garage door. It's gonna be 31 quarter turns for a 7-foot high door. Got my winding rods, got my wrench to tighten these bolts down once we're all set, and a little bit of face protection. So editor Alex, did future Alex ever find his other pair of vice grips? So right now, I'm just pre-tensioning this rod a little bit so that as I'm winding it, these wires don't pop loose. Okay, this is loose. This is held in place. Going to finger tighten these locking bolts and then back them off a little bit. All right, I'm now gonna do 31 quarter turns, also known as 7 3/4 full turns. And I'm being careful to keep my body out of this plane where the rods are. And then I'll always have one hand on a rod at any given time. This part can be dangerous if you don't take the appropriate precautions. If you're not comfortable doing it yourself, make sure to contact a professional garage door installer for assistance. 31. Now, we're gonna tighten these down. Snug, snug. All right, now. 4 quarter turns. Okay, now that I've got this tightened, I am going to twist it a little bit, back out my winding rods. Then I'm going to remove my vice grip. And this should now be taking the weight of the door. Let's see how easy it is to open. Going up. Oh, that didn't work at all. Something bad happened. That is all kinds of up. 1, 2, 15. I don't know what the heck happened, but that's concerning. So I put 31 quarter turns in, and I took 15 quarter turns out. So something slipped. So I figured out what the problem was. The torsion spring right there, that should be flipped around to the other side. So this part's crucial. Looking at your torsion bar, there should either be a mark of red paint or a mark of black paint on one end of it. If there's red, that torsion bar goes to the left from the midpoint. If it's black, it goes to the right. Obviously, in hindsight, I had that wrong. Now it's getting fixed. Garage door now opens. So smooth. And it's closed. And it stays. And it closes. With the door running smoothly, I'm now prepping the trim 2x8s to replace the rotten ones. I removed the old rotten trim, the old weather stripping, and clean things up a little bit to get any debris out of the way. I then cut the new pieces to length, primed, painted them. I just did a color match on the existing trim and it worked out pretty well. So I've just got the laser here so that I know how far over to nail this in. To seal around the new trim, I'm using OSI Quad. I needed something with good UV resistance, stretch, and temperature stability, and this checked all those boxes. Oh, I need to seal along the floor line. I forgot that. All right, now I've got the bottom edge sealed. The last step in the project was installing the weather stripping with some aluminum trim nails. Top part wasn't too bad, just awkward with the length. The side weather stripping was a lot harder. Took a bunch of trial and error to get things just right so it blocked the elements without causing the material to flex incorrectly. After this, I just came through with some brown paint to touch up the white nail heads. I've got both doors installed and they look awesome. Stay tuned for the next episode where I show you how to install these super quiet side-mounted garage door openers. See ya.